What's up, everyone? So let's talk about the fight that happened just now between Alex Pereira Porton and Izzy the Stylebender Adesanya. What a fight! First of all, anyone who's talking about Israel Adesanya's fights, hopefully you got your money's worth on this pay-per-view because this was a pretty good fight. It was pretty evenly matched in the first two rounds. I thought Izzy turned it up in the third round and fourth rounds. He was really coasting to the win. He was up, in my opinion, 3 rounds to 1 against Alex Pereira, but that left hook caught him again. And that's sort of what we're going to talk about because there was a strong sense going into this fight that history was going to repeat itself again. And for a while, it looked like Izzy was about to change the turn of history and stay away from that natural disaster that seems to happen to him whenever he fights Alex Pereira. This is the third fight that they've had stretching across their martial arts career. This is from the Glory kickboxing fighting days now to the UFC days, and the result is still the same. So let's break it down. Why did Izzy lose this match? And what does that mean for the middleweight division? What does that mean going forward? Here are my thoughts on it. First of all, after watching this match, even though I'm an Izzy fan, I'm going to take a step back and be as objective as I can. You would have to be a bona fide Izzy hater to state that Alex Pereira is the more skilled fighter. These guys have fought 3 times. And if you are not a highlight watcher and you're actually looking at the match completely from start to finish, you will see that Izzy is the more skilled and complete fighter out of the two of them, whether it's in the kickboxing striking capabilities or in MMA, where you have other facets of martial arts coming into play, like grappling and takedowns and whatnot. Izzy is the more well rounded fighter. He is technically the more diverse fighter. Generally speaking, he is the smarter fighter, and it shows whenever they fight. For the most part, Izzy is always dominating the rounds. He's always winning on points. He's always ahead. He plays defensive, but when he goes on the offense, like if you look at the exchange and the dynamics, he's tagging Alex Pereira more times than Alex is tagging him. Hell, he even rocked Alex at one point early on in the match, the same way he dropped Alex Pereira during their second match. It's not like this is a walk in the park for Pereira. It's not like Pereira has been dominating and winning one-sided fights against this guy. It's not like Pereira, is just what's it called, going in there, saying this is going to be easy pickings for me. No, Pereira twice has come from behind to KO, or in this case, it was a technical knockout of Adesanya. At the same time, in the first fight decision, it was a very, very close decision, and it didn't go the way of Adesanya at that time. So 3 fights, and they've been very, very close. However, objectively speaking, there's no denying the outcome. Each time, Pereira has won. Let's take the first fight off the cards because, like I said, Pereira didn't knock him out that time. The second and third fights, though, what's going on? To understand what's going on, we've got to look at Alex Pereira himself. There's a part of the dynamic that I cannot explain. I just can't. I don't know why it's happening that way. So, that part of the dynamic is the part where Izzy gets his chance to put Pereira away. And he always seems to get stopped by something. In the Glory kickboxing fight, it was the referee because it was kickboxing. He dropped Pereira. Pereira had to take the mandatory counts, referee interference, and Pereira recovered. In this fight, he rocked Pereira. Unfortunately, it was right at the end of the round, and Pereira got saved by basically the UFC clock. It's round by round. One other thing that you have to consider is that Alex Pereira is very, very quick at recovering. Porton, he's he- I will give him credit there. His resistance, his will is amazing. I mean, most people get rocked in a round. They're going to come back in the next round, and they're still going to be feeling the after effects of getting tagged. Whether it's psychologically or physically, they're going to be feeling it. Not everybody is mentally or physically strong enough to reset so quickly and then continue making it a fight. Usually, the guy who was on top in the last round is just going to continue picking his opponent apart. Not in this case. I mean, Izzy continued to perform well, but he couldn't put Pereira away. He couldn't get that strike. He couldn't get that hit in that he needed to then start the process of getting him out of there, like putting in the finishing touches. He couldn't do that. And then we then go to Pereira's natural equalizer, that left hook. See, when I watch Pereira fight, he gives me shades of Deontay Wilder from the heavyweight boxing division of professional boxing. He's not the comparison, take it at surface value. The comparison is in the sense that he's got this secret one-shot nuclear weapon that he knows if it lands, it's game over. It's game over. I don't care who you are. After watching that left hook a bunch of times in that weight division, it will sleep anybody. Right? There are not many people who are going to get tagged with that and not go down. That's very, very much like Deontay Wilder's straight right hand, which was basically why he was called the Bronze Bomber, right? So these two guys are similar in the sense that they've got bombs in one hand that they can use to equalize a fight, regardless of if they've lost every single round down to the last second. That makes them extremely dangerous and extremely hard to put away because you have to respect the fact that this weapon is always there, ready to go off at any time. Now, unlike Deontay Wilder, in terms of his martial arts and kickboxing capability, I would place Alex Pereira much higher in terms of his skill at fighting within the MMA than I would give Deontay Wilder within boxing, particularly the early Deontay Wilder. I thought he got better to fight Tyson Fury, but you see that's the difference between Tyson Fury and Izzy. Where Tyson Fury's natural size and just his ability to absorb and take punches was a negating factor for Deontay Wilder's one shot punch. Izzy does not have that size or that weight, that meaty, beefy presence behind him where he can take and absorb that and just kind of get back up. He's not the Gypsy King. He's the last style bender. And he's if he were a gaming character, his health bar or his recovery ability or his durability factor would be much lower for me than it would be for Tyson Fury. So Izzy doesn't seem to have a counter to Porton's equalizer. And so he has to be perfect all through the fight. He has to literally be perfect, particularly when it comes to that left hook. That left hook is the bane of his existence. He has to be perfect all through the fight. And unfortunately, he wasn't in this fight. He didn't do everything right the way he talked about doing it. Yes, he was cruising through. Yes, he was on top. He was winning the rounds. They were pretty close rounds, but he was doing enough. He was doing enough to win it, and he was being a bit aggressive at times. But what was the bane of his existence as well was the fact that he was also being so defensive, backing up against the cage, against someone with the offensive firepower like Alex Pereira was always going to be a bad idea. He shouldn't have done that, especially going into the fifth round. This was where Izzy should have come out smoking. I understand that he didn't want to take unnecessary risks and he didn't want to, what's it called, fight stupid. I get it. But that works against certain caliber of fighters. Alex Pereira is not the guy that you want to do that against. Yes, I said earlier that Izzy is more skilled than him. He's a more diverse fighter. I feel he's a better fighter. He's the more well-rounded fighter. Unfortunately, though, that doesn't mean that Alex Pereira is not a great fighter in his own right. What Alex Pereira had in this fight was a will to win that Izzy just didn't have. He went after it. I would say he's probably the first guy in Izzy's title defense that really went after Izzy and had the tools and the weapons to truly do something. And Izzy should have known that that fifth round, he knew he was on top. I'm sure his corner told him, look, you're on top. He should have known that Alex was going to come out guns blazing in that fifth round. So I think to negate that, he should have come out guns blazing as well. Because one thing that gets overlooked with Izzy's style bending and feints and stance switching game tactics is the fact that he's actually a pretty strong guy. He actually packs a punch. He's dropped a couple of killers in the UFC in his time there, including Robert Whitaker. So it's not like he doesn't have that power. He should have gone out hunting for Alex. It would have been an epic. It should have been the Gastelum type of thing. But I think he respected and feared the left hook of Alex too much and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to stay back and try to use the octagon space around me and stay out of reach and then get this win. And if he had successfully done that, then yes, he would have won. But it was a high risk strategy because Alex was coming. He was going to chase him down for those last 5 minutes. And sometimes the best form of defense is actually offense. And Izzy didn't do that. And he got tagged, he got caught. Like I said, just like Deontay Wilder, his contemporary, or his the analogy to Alex Pereira in the boxing what's it called, sport. That left hook of Alex Pereira is a natural equalizer. And it's not only going to be a problem for Izzy, it's going to be a problem for everybody going forward. This is the new king of the middleweight division. How he does against other fighters is now going to be interesting. You see, where other fighters were Izzy, when Izzy was king, they had to worry about getting in there and getting counterpunched, getting in there and getting caught, with a strike from anywhere. It could have been any one of Izzy's strikes, or just getting into Izzy's strike zone, and then he uses them to put on a clinic. Might not necessarily sleep them, but certainly, puts on a clinic and a classic, to their detriment, and they still lose the fight. But Alex Pereira, they really have to just worry about. I mean, not that he doesn't have any other weapons, but they really have to worry about that left hook. They really have to worry about the fact that even if they prove to be a better fighter, and there are some fighters that I think might be better than Pereira in terms of MMA, not necessarily kickboxing, but in terms of what they can do in that octagon. Robert Whitaker, even Vittori, I think could be a better fighter than Pereira all around, right? These guys still have to understand that even though they might be winning, even though they might score takedowns, and I think Izzy scored takedowns tonight, Pereira could still tag them with that left hook. That's the problem. And that's also where I see it's possible that he could go on a Deontay Wilder type run until he meets somebody who is skilled enough to beat him, like Izzy is, but also durable enough to take his best shot the way the Gypsy King in boxing was proved over 3 fights, that he was durable enough to take the best that Deontay Wilder had to offer and still get up. So that's what it's going to be right now in the middleweight division. However, there is an X factor here going forward, Before we look at other fighters that Alex Pereira could fight, there is a possibility of a rematch. And you could make the case that Israel Adesanya deserves a rematch because after everything he's done for the middleweight division, after all of the great fights he's given, and you guys can argue that there have been some sleepers and whatnot, but this man has been a walking highlight reel for the past 4 years. For the most part, he's been that. And he's also not ducked any fighter. He certainly didn't duck Pereira. He called it out that this is the next one. And and he's right. Pereira owes him that he gave him that opportunity early on. I think if Izzy had pulled the champions card and made Pereira have to come up the division the regular way, I don't know if he would have gotten to Izzy. But based on all of that, I think it's only fair if they give Izzy a rematch. Because this is a completely new sport. He's 3-0, yeah, in terms of career, but he's 1-0 in the UFC. So we have to see what happens next. And then if he defeats him a second time, Izzy's just got to say, hey, look, you know what? I can't get over this hump. The other day, Robert Whitaker was saying that Izzy's his counter. Pereira might just be his counter. After 3 fights, it looks that way. But again, I think a rematch is possible. And I think if a rematch happens, it would only be fair. The last couple of things that I do want to say is, though, even after the rematch, so let's say the rematch happens and Izzy wins. Well, everything's come back to, I guess, normalcy or what we've been used to over the past couple of years. And then it's okay, what's next for Izzy? However, if Pereira wins, the possibility of him dominating for a stretch is there, but the possibility of him fading away is also there. And here's why I say that. A lot of people won't say this, and I'm going to call it out for anybody who watches this live stream. Alex Pereira did all of this because he wanted what Izzy has. Let's make no mistake. This is a case of a hater winning. And life is like that. Everything doesn't have a Disney princess ending. Sometimes the bad guys win. And when I say bad guys, the fact is Pereira is jealous of Izzy. It shows. The moment Izzy entered the octagon, the UFC, this guy was basically tweeting, posting that knockout, trying to make himself relevant by saying, hey, look, this new star of yours, I beat him, I'm better than him. He didn't necessarily have to tie himself to Izzy. He could have just been himself. And if it comes up and that history comes up, it comes up. But what he did was go out there and continue to saturate the internet with what was at the time his only claim to fame. That the best fighter in probably the best mixed martial arts competition on the planet in the middleweight division, he felt he was better than. He came into the UFC because he wanted to go after Izzy. He's that hater that chases you wherever you go. Well, here's the thing. He finally got what he wanted. His sole motivation, he just accomplished tonight. What else is there? It's very, very possible that mentally he might not be dialed in on his next couple of fights. And then what happens is he gets bodied out of the way. I don't know if he will actually have a long run in terms of title defenses the way Izzy has had. I don't even know if he's going to be as active as a champion. I don't know if he's going to be. He might do 1 fight a year, or maybe 2 at most. Izzy was doing 3 a year. But the point is, while that left hook is always going to be there as a natural equalizer, as a natural fight ender, it's very, very possible that mentally he won't be as dialed in. It looks like Alex Pereira feeds off of his hate of Izzy. And now that he's done what he wanted to do, you know, that motivation, that strength might not just be there for the next fight. And trust me, there are a lot of people plenty motivated now. Now that they see, because I don't think his reign feels as absolute as a even now thinking about it, it doesn't feel as absolute as Izzy's did, because really the fight wasn't dominated by him. When Izzy got to the title by defeating Robert Whitaker, he was dominant in that fight all the way through. Alex Pereira caught Izzy again. And so the fact is he going to keep catching everybody with this? Like I said, he could go on a Deontay Wilder type run where he does. Deontay Wilder should have lost a lot of matches in boxing, but he slept a lot of guys because of that right hand. And Alex Pereira could possibly do the same in the UFC, where he's going to sleep a lot of guys with his left hook. But again, does he have the same willpower to do that against them the way he did against Izzy? Because, this was personal. So that's that part that I think people have got to worry about. What's in store for Izzy? I think possibly a rematch. I think that probably is what makes sense. I really don't see any other outcome except for that rematch. And then after that, I don't know if he's going to have the willpower to start going through the ranks again. He was already lapping the middleweight division. He might just leave it and go all the way to light heavyweight. And now here's the interesting thing. If Izzy does say, you know what, I'm cutting it out, I'm going to go to light heavyweight, there's every possibility that Alex Pereira chases him up there again, because that's what he does. He's the perennial hater. So while I think the better fighter won tonight, I don't, and it's hard to say. I think the man who wanted it more won tonight. I wouldn't even call Pereira the better fighter, but I'd say he was the man who wanted it more. But I would say the better fighter lost. And I'll honestly say the better man lost. Pereira had no dignity, or even humility. From everything I saw, I didn't see him acknowledge Izzy at all. Not once. This is a reigning champion, arguably a legend of the sport. You defeated him, yes. You have personal, but you finally got your win on the biggest stage. Acknowledge the guy. He didn't even do that. So there's no honor or dignity in his fighting to me. And I won't be rooting for him, even though I'm trying to be as objective as possible. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what yours are, and we can chat in the comments once you watch this live stream. Drama Mania out.